Joining me now, Pauline Hanson's Chief of Staff, James Ashby, and the Managing Director of PR Council, Christie McSweeney. James, Christie, thank you for your time. I'll start with that detainee legislation if I can, James. I know you were in and around the Senate late last night. It's certainly not robust, or not as robust as it could be. I'll get into some of that detail in a moment with the Deputy Liberal leader, Susan Lee. But Labor said for days and days they couldn't do anything. Then they were humiliated to put in a bill yesterday morning. The minister said, you know, toughest ever. By afternoon, she was rolling over and had to take every single one of the amendments from Peter Dutton to improve it. Now, it's been a long time. I haven't seen this sort of incompetence in a while. What was it like in the Senate last night?
Well, in your absence last Friday, Peter, I actually said that the first agenda item in the Senate or the lower house, I didn't care, should have been this very issue, and it should have been dealt with on Monday of this week, not Thursday, or threaten to do it on Friday in the hope that the Senate would just simply pass the legislation unamended. So, look, there was no consultation with the crossbench. There was behind-the-scenes conversations with Labor and the coalition. Peter Dutton obviously got a few amendments up, but these are Band-Aid solutions, Peter. This is ankle bracelets. This does not detain anybody for any period of time. One Nation would have liked the time to actually put an amendment up, which would have seen the detention of these people not inevitable, not endless, but certainly for 25 years. 20 or 25 years would have been enough. Some of these people should never have been released in the first place. The High Court knew very well of the sinister offences that some of these people, in fact all of them, had caused and obviously could still cause further problems for Australian citizens, putting them at risk. So this is Band-Aid solution stuff. I wish the coalition actually spent a little more time and forced a better outcome for Australians. In the meantime, we're going to have to go back to the Parliament sometime later in the future and fix this, because these people should be behind bars or out of the country altogether.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I agree with you absolutely on that point. And of course, it was just a calamity from woe to go. The Immigration Minister, Andrew Giles, I mean, completely out of his depth. He looked inept all week. He kept having to read from his notes. He didn't preempt any chance there'd be a negative outcome from the High Court. And the story from Labor changed completely from Monday to Thursday. Have a listen.
There will be appropriate visa conditions, and the Commonwealth Government will be working with state and territory criminal justice agencies.
We live in a system where the courts are allowed to make independent decisions. We've just got to deal with them.
This was not a decision of the Australian government. If I had any power to keep these people detained, I would do so. I don't have that power. And so we are managing the High Court's mandatory decision.
It is fair to say that since the moment of the High Court's decision, there has been a significant degree, understandably, of anxiety within the community.
All right, Christie, this is your professional gig here. You deal with crisis management all the time. And how damaging is this?
It's really damaging for Labor, and of course it's damaging for the High Court as well. Most Australians aren't watching the activities of the High Court. They're watching how the government deals with ramifications of the High Court. But it'd be fair to say Australians have lost faith in the Labor Party's ability to deal with the ramifications of decisions that affect the safety of women and children. Labor knows that it's very weak on border protection. The bill was inept. It didn't secede to the community's wishes or the community's sentiment because Labor always has one eye on the left of its faction, which does not support detention of people. So everything they do is designed with one eye to the left, and we've seen that with a number of issues, as you mentioned, across the front of the program today.
Let's go to energy, James. We learned today that several of the big gas producers are pushing for Australia to become the carbon sink for China, Japan and Korea. So they'll use our gas, we'll ship it there, they'll power their economies, and then we'll take back shiploads of their carbon rubbish and store it like some big dump island. I know the PM's over at APEC. He's talking a big game on renewables. What do you think about this? Should we be the carbon sink of the Southern Hemisphere?
I think what we have to ultimately do is get the language right, Peter, because we're not talking about carbon. I learnt this in high school. I had a really intelligent science and maths teacher. He was affectionately known as Screamer. He told us the difference between carbon, that's the black stuff that you wear on your fingers. What we're talking about here is carbon dioxide, the same material that goes into your fizzy drinks, soft drinks. There's no difference between what we're talking about here. Carbon dioxide, every time you crack one of those tins, you're releasing the same stuff as what we're contemplating taking from other countries and then somehow preserving it back underground. It doesn't make a great deal of sense. I don't want to buy into this. It may seem like the silver bullet here or the ultimate goal to appear green and keep our industries alive, but ultimately we're conceding to this idea that carbon dioxide is bad. It's not. We inhale a certain element of carbon dioxide, about 0.04%, and we exhale carbon dioxide. We're as bigger emitters as any koala or kangaroo out there. So we've just got to get the language right. I think people are starting to get the message. So I don't think drilling holes, pumping carbon dioxide from around the globe, if we can capture this, build a soft drink factory and start pumping it into cans of drink. Don't pump it underground. I don't see the merit in that. And ultimately, we'll be charged for this. At the end of the day, it's going to cost us.
Christie, the Optus CEO was in the Senate today. She copped I think quite rightly, a grilling from senators across the board. She didn't seem that perturbed. She certainly hasn't offered her resignation. But how do they rebuild their brand if she's still there?
Look, it's really hard. I don't think she performed extremely well. There's ancillary things that Optus has done, bringing in the security trying to stop the media cameras. She's going to the House of the People's Government. She needed to go there without all of that pomp and ceremony around her. It'll be very, very difficult for Optus. But I think as well, if Greens and independent senators want to be seen to be on the side of small business, and that's what they're going on about today, they would do well to revisit Labor's industrial relations agenda that's harming small business instead of making hay, trying to stand up for small business by grilling KBR in the Senate inquiry. There's a lot of theatre going on with this one.